Hey, welcome back, everyone. Got some slightly different content for you here. I know you're tuning in usually for the Age of Empires 4 games, but I want to highlight these other video games that I've been playing lately. I know I'm going to be probably disappearing from YouTube for a little bit, taking care of the new kid, but I want to advertise some of these other games that are out there. I figured I'd start with this one. It's a new RTS game, but it comes from a long lineage of existing games. So for those of you who played Total Annihilation or Supreme Commander, or if you played a little bit of Planetary Annihilation, this is a game that comes from that sort of lineage of games. It's a real-time strategy game, and it's focused on scale. So rather than everyone maybe starting at a really basic technology and building up to maybe a end point of the game, like in Age of Empires you reach the Imperial Age and that's about it for scaling. In this game you can just go and go and go. It seems like there's always another tier of technology to reach, another unit to build that's even more expensive than the last one. And that means games can go on for a very long time, and they'll be ended by some enormous weapon of mass destruction, some giant weapon or robot that crushes the opponents. So I really wanted to highlight this, and I wanted to highlight it especially because it's free to play. And I don't mean free to play like your typical microtransaction sort of game. I mean free to play because it's built ground up by the community, and it has all these great features that an open source built game that is absolutely taking feedback from its players and putting it into the game. That's what this sort of free to play, that's what I mean by free to play. It's very open source. You can download replays from online. There's great observation tools. You can write on the battlefield, so you can put text on the battlefield. You can draw with your cursor, so you can direct your opponents to move into different areas. They really respond to feedback, and it's got a decent multiplayer. I mean, you can see we got a lot of folks out there, and you can see the most popular game mode has been 8v8. I know Age of Empires supports 4v4, but we're talking 8v8 here. These games are wild, and I've even seen some mods experimenting with other playstyles. I've even seen a video of 10v10v10v10 in this game. So a 40-player match, wild. But let's talk about why the game is a recommend from my point of view. So let's hop into a single-player game and talk a little bit about the basics. I'm going to load up one of the popular 1v1 maps, and I'm going to go up against a very easy AI, so that way I can at least talk a little bit about the game, what we're thinking here. A game testing AI, it literally does nothing. I love it. You can see that there's all sorts of maps available. Some are certified, as in they're just certified by the community as a good map to play. And there's, of course, uncertified ones down here. These could be older versions or just unofficial maps, but there's a decent variety, and a lot of these are built or are based on old Supreme Commander or Total Annihilation maps. One look at Supreme Straight version 1.3 and you know exactly, if you've played those previous games, what this map is. So it's great to see. Let's hop into this match, and you can actually control the spawn points and whatever. It's very cool. But we hit start, we'll hop in. And one great part about this game is the variety. This is a map that doesn't have water, but there's an entire water and naval element to the game. You can build these hovercraft units, you can build naval units. It's very exciting. Load times are pretty good. It runs on most machines. They use very low polygon unit models in the game, so that way it can run fairly smoothly when there's hundreds of units on the screen. So I appreciate that they are trying to make it accessible for most players, for most machines, and I like the direction. All right, here we are. At the start of the game, we're actually going to choose where we spawn. You can see that there is a sort of designated green area where we're allowed to spawn. There are two factions. They are very similar to each other. I would say 80% similar to each other. They do have slight unit differences, a few building differences, but really you can go with either of these, and I'll try to highlight features that are inherent to both of the factions. So on your starting point, you really want to spawn near these circled areas. These are mass extractor spaces. So I'm going to start maybe like right here. I like these two. So I click, I hit ready. We can see our build menus on the left, mini-map in the upper left, and we've got our resources up here. There's two resources in the game. Mass, which we're going to collect from these mass extractors. I'll hold down shift to queue up another one. And the other thing is energy. And energy can come in a variety of forms. So mass comes from these mass extractors, and you can also extract it from dead units. But energy can come from a variety of locations, I should say, or methods. The first is solar. Solar is very reliable. You can see that these solar collectors produce 20 energy. So I'm trying to build up my energy generation here. But there are other maps where there's decent wind speed on the map, and in that instance you can build wind turbines, and rather than the sort of static 20 energy that you get from solar panels, the wind turbines actually generate a variable amount depending on the wind speed. So it's an interesting dynamic. You can also make thermal power generators on maps that have lava, so they're like geothermal power plants. You can also make tidal energy generators on water maps, so you can harvest the energy generated from waves. That one I believe is also constant, but you have to build it on water. And there's even some special designated areas on the map for other energy gathering buildings. But one important point I want to give is this starting unit that you have here. This is your commander. And much like in games where, if you've ever played like monarchy games or something where you have one designated unit that can't die, this is your king. If you lose your commander, you lose the game. At least that's how it works in 1v1. In an 8v8 or in team games, it doesn't matter if you lose your commander. It's really if all players have lost their commander. So you can see my commander can walk around. He's a unit. He mostly builds. He does have some combat capabilities, including the fabled D gun, which is this enormous blast that one hit kills any unit. That thing is nasty. But yeah, he's very helpful for building different resource generators. So you can see I'm going to use him to gather up all these different resources, specifically these mass extractors. Over here, I built a unit production center. It produces both economic units and military units, so it's not like a barracks versus a town center, or in StarCraft, a command center versus a barracks. These buildings can produce both economic units and military units. So I can put out a Constructor bot, which is your basic building unit. I could put out a Grave Robber, which is sort of a gathering, repairing, sort of more combat line building unit. And then I can also make grunts, aggravators, thugs, trashers. These are just different combat units. I'll make a few of these just to highlight them. But here's our basic constructor unit, and it's just like my commander builds buildings. We're really going to want to prioritize getting resources. And I will note that this construction bot actually has much more buildings available to it than my commander. My commander is actually a pretty limited building unit, whereas this Tech 1 constructor bot can do a lot. You can see we have various metal extractors. I mean, these are how we strip mass from the map. We've, of course, got our energy converters. These convert energy into metal. So if we have excess solar or excess energy in this instance, I can actually use these energy converters to generate additional mass. So if I can just continually build solar collectors and then build energy converters to convert the energy into mass, I can basically have an infinite economy right here. Things that generate energy, things that use energy to generate mass. So while I could go out on the map and gather up all of these resources, all these extractor points, I could also turtle in the corner of the map and just generate more and more energy and then convert more and more of it into mass. And eventually I could probably generate more resources in a small corner of this map than all of these mass areas combined. That said, it takes a long time to do so. But that's what I mean by scaling. It's a game where you can continually improve your economy until it just completely overtakes all of your opponents. But speaking of resources, you'll notice up at the top it says wasting metal, wasting energy. In this game, you actually have a capacity for the resources that you collect. So right now, I'm gathering metal, but I can only store a certain amount of it. I can fix this by building a metal storage structure. So once this builds, you'll see my capacity has now increased to 4,600 instead of 1,600. So now we can actually store that excess metal that we're producing, and you'll see we're wasting energy, so why don't we put down an energy storage? I'll say you're almost always going to be wasting energy. It's good to have an excess of energy. It means that you can put down more of these converters, and you never want to have a power outage in this game. It can be very painful. But there you go. We'll get a few more solar collectors there. So that's the basic of resources. You want to move out onto the map and gather up these these mass extraction points. I guess it's called metal in this game. And then for energy, you just want to build your solar panels or maybe your wind turbines, something to gather up energy for yourself. And of course, if you get an excess of energy, you can put down some of these energy converters, which conveniently turn off when you don't have enough energy. And when your energy surpasses this threshold, they will actually power on and generate that metal. So you can see it's not doing anything right now, but once it surpasses this point, it blinks on and it's now generating mass or metal. Very cool. Here are those combat units I was talking about. Moving units around the map is very interesting. If you right click, you'll see that they get bunched up. If you right click and drag, you can actually splay your units out in whatever formation you want. Very common tactic is to just send them out in a line like this. But we can give some very complicated orders with these movement commands. So I could say, form a line here, then bunch up over here, and then spread out here. So you can see they're each following their own path. It's very helpful for when you want to spread your units out. And I've even seen some players doing a sort of split, like maybe there's a bomb heading directly to where these units are. Well, I'll just draw a circle, and now they're all just going to run away from that area. So I love the unit control. Of course, you've got patrol, you've got move, you've also got this fight command, which is sort of like your attack move. I can also give sort of a directional point with that, so they're all attack moving in this direction. Very cool. And this is just one type of unit. These are bot units. Some are sort of short range rapid attacks. Others are more ranged but good versus static units like these rocket bots. And some are just heavier. This light plasma bot is just stronger than these grunts, these fast infantry bots. And we've even got an anti-air unit here because there are air units in the game. So let's check out some of those other types of units by building out these other factories. So this is a bot factory, but we're going to produce a vehicle factory and an aircraft factory. I guess they call this a bot lab and these plants. But you can see we've got a variety of units, and each of these, again, have some economic units that they can produce. So I can actually make a construction aircraft and a construction vehicle. These are construction bots. I'll also highlight, since we're kind of going through, we went through storage, energy generation. We've also got construction turrets. These things are very helpful because they are basically a static, immobile builder unit, but they automatically assist the things around them. Very helpful to put near your factories. So I'll put it right here. That way, it'll assist all of these buildings. Very helpful when you're trying to push out units quickly. And while we're at it, why don't we grab up some more of these resources out here? Okay, we've got our vehicle plant, and this produces a lot tougher, meatier units that can withstand a little bit more damage and put out a little more damage. We've got some faster light tanks and scout vehicles. We've also got some heavier tanks like the Brute and the Pounder. And we've also got artillery and missile trucks. These are great against static units. And we've even got amphibious tanks, great for those water maps. As for the aircraft plant, we've got, again, a scout unit. You can kind of see a theme here. We've got a scout unit here, a scout unit, maybe here, this like grunt, and of course a scout unit right here, the rascal. But then we've also got a fighter, so this is like an interceptor. It does air-to-air damage. We've also got whirlwind bombers, so this is like an air-to-ground attacker. And we've also got transport units in case we want to pick up and move our units elsewhere. Very cool. That's useful for larger maps where maybe you want to do a strike far away. Load up a bunch of units in these transport ships. And I'm hopeful that maybe in the future, actually I'm going to pump out a few of these transport ships because I remember in Supreme Commander you could actually set transport waypoints. That'd be really cool if they add that to this game or if they already have it. Let's see. Fight, guard, patrol, move, go to nearest air pad, load units within an area in the transport. Oh, that sounds kind of cool. Cool, looks like I can mass move units. Neat. Oh, sorry for the delay there. And I want to highlight that for, it looks like these transports can at least load up mass units, but I wish they would add that in. You could basically say, I want anything that I rally to a point over here to be picked up by transports and then brought to another area on the map and unloaded automatically. Ooh, I would love it if they'd add that in. But one thing I want to highlight, again, with the scaling up theme, all of these construction units, the construction bot, the construction vehicle, and the construction aircraft right here. Let me pull them up. Yes, the construction aircraft. They can all build a tier 2 version of the factory that they were produced from. So we can make an advanced aircraft plant, we can make an advanced bot lab, and we can make an advanced vehicle plant. And each of these structures produce even more powerful versions. And even new units, you can see we can get an advanced construction aircraft, even better fighters. We can make gunships, flying fortresses, heavy strategic bombers. So these are just upgraded versions of those units. You can see from the advanced bot lab a variety of units. Incredible. Some relating to radar and stealth. And we've even got our advanced vehicle factory here with very powerful units like heavy artillery vehicles, very heavy assault tanks, even an anti-nuke unit. Yeah, there are nukes in this game, so you can actually send nuclear warheads at your opponents and just wipe them off the map. So there's always that ability to scale upwards, and I really like that in this game, that if you can get ahead by making some very advanced technologies such as level 2 mass extractors, which will greatly increase your metal production, and level 2 energy generators or level 3 energy generators and level 2 mass converters. There's so many ways of scaling upwards and getting more and more of what you need. And then eventually you can construct, there's so many game-ending units in the game that it's hard to decide on which one is the scariest. There are units that fire these huge flak cannons that fire giant laser beams. If you've seen some of the experimental units from Supreme Commander, like that giant spider with the laser or the giant UFO, there's just so many great game-ending units that come out. And not to mention just nuking your opponents, hitting them with this giant stationary artillery unit. Very cool. So I just wanted to highlight this game and the mechanics. Hopefully you'll see a game or two posted by me in the future. But if this is the kind of game you're into, be sure to check it out. There's all sorts of YouTube content out there if you want to see some matchups, you want to see some of those 8v8s. But I just wanted to highlight how the game works, how it operates, and hopefully in the future when you see me play a full game of it, I can talk through a little bit of the strategies that I'm doing. Wow, yeah, look at this, the Calamity, this rapid-fire long-range plasma cannon, the Apocalypse. Oof, some of these are nasty. And we're not even looking at what this experimental gantry can produce. Look at some of these units. Catapult rocket bots, all-terrain assault mechs, a Juggernaut. These are incredible units. Anyway, hopefully you can tune in for a future game where I play some Beyond All Reason, and be sure to check it out. Like I said, free to play. They really listen to their community. So if you're a fan of real-time strategy games, or if you played those games in the past, Supreme Commander, Total Annihilation, Planetary Annihilation, this is definitely worth checking out. All right, I'll see you all next time. And again, be sure to check it out, beyondallreason.info. All right, catch you next time.